Substance use and abuse has always been a very complex issue that has been going on around the world for some time. However, it now proposes more intricate questions about how the usage of certain drugs has evolved in medicine and in society. But there is one specific drug that people tend to be uncertain and cautious about, even though it is the number one drug today: marijuana. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, marijuana refers to dried leaves, flowers, stems, and seeds from the hemp plant Cannabis sativa. The plant contains the mind-altering chemical THC and other related compounds. There have been many disputes and discussions to what this drug can really do and what it can be used for. Identified by the United States Drug Enforcement Agency, or the DEA, marijuana, also known as THC, is classified as a Schedule 1 drug, which means that the use of the drug is highly likely to be abused and that the drug or substance has no use for medical treatment in the United States. The legalization of marijuana has been an ongoing debate for years now and has had some success and has had success in some states, but continues to be put on hold in others. It has always been looked at in a negative light, but as time has evolved, marijuana has played a big influence on society in many aspects. With the legalization of marijuana, it can be beneficial to society, useful in medical field, as well as helping to get our economy out of a turmoil. While there are many advantages to legalizing marijuana, there are some major concerns and counterarguments that people have when allowing for this drug to be available to the general public. Due to this, one of the most common trepidations people have is that if the drug were to be legalized, it would find its way to be easily accessible to minors. In Colorado and Washington, where marijuana is legal for medical and recreational use, the distribution of the drug is regulated by the supplier and is only sold to people who are 21 and older. As these rules and regulations apply, the, the dissemination of the drug is controlled by the law. With the ability to purchase marijuana legally, people also fear that it will cause for crime rates to increase. In legalizing medical marijuana may actually reduce crime, by Matt Ferner, he quotes Michael Elliott, executive director of the Marijuana Industry Group. While this program is cumbersome for the small business owners in the industry, it is far better than choosing the black market operators who use violence to dominate the sale of marijuana and prey on our children. With marijuana dispensaries controlling and being the ones who allocate the drugs to those who use it, it deviates people resorting to buying from those selling in the streets who don't always have the best intentions. As the debate of whether or not legalizing marijuana is a good idea, there are many pros as to why the legalization of marijuana would be a good idea. Despite marijuana being seen as a gateway drug or one that is addictive, it is easy for people to think that it will only have a negative effect on the public, but that's not always the case. Many believe that the legalization of marijuana can be destructive in some ways, yet it can be helpful in many ways that people would not imagine possible. As we continue to discover new revelations with the legalization of marijuana, it begins to outweigh the potential harm that most people are convinced it will do. But with the FDA not favoring or acknowledging the plant or the ingredients in the plant can be used for medical reasons, it has complicated the process of attaining the evidence to find out if it can really benefit society as a whole. One of the main reasons why the use of marijuana has not been legally permitted yet is because the FDA has not believed the plant to have a purpose in being used for prescription. In doing so, it has ceased for studies to help find other methods in which the plant can be used to progress any alternate forms of treatment. Because it is categorized as such, there has been much opportunity for clinical trials and more elaborate research to be prepared in order to find more answers behind the use of this drug. If the scientific research isn't even getting the chance to figure out if we can truly make use of medical marijuana, then why is the idea of possibly having more treatments to offer patients being pushed aside based off moral assumptions, especially when they have only began to scratch the surface of what marijuana can do in the medical field? Allowing for the chance to build off the studies that have already been made, there is an opportunity to thrive off that information to see what the chemicals and ingredients in the drug can do to profit medicine. Hypothetically speaking, if marijuana were to be legalized, there is a good possibility of discovering a whole other treatment for those who haven't found exactly what fulfills their therapeutic needs. In a more depth idea of the medical aspect of what legalizing marijuana could bring, there have been many cases where the use of medical marijuana has tremendously helped patients who are very ill or experience severe pain. What I find to be ironic is that the use of medical marijuana or the ingredients in THC has already been proven to be beneficial to some people who have encountered certain illnesses, such as muscle spasms, cancer patients, and children with epilepsy, and more, but still have no use in medicine. In addressing the hesitation of its motives, the NIDA mentions that scientific study of the the chemicals in marijuana called cannabinoids has led to two FDA-approved medications that contain cannabinoid chemicals in pill form because the marijuana plant contains chemicals that may help treat a range of illness or symptoms. Many people argue that it should be legal for medical purposes. There have been chemicals found in marijuana that exhibit beneficial factors to those who are in need of an alternate medical remedy, but continue to take a backseat due to its classification as a drug because there hasn't been large experiments to get any certain answers in. In Medical Marijuana and Epilepsy by Joseph Servin and Patricia Schaefer, they stated that individual reports of children with refractory epilepsy who have tried cannabis, usually with high ratios of cannabidiol to THC, have reported marked improvements in seizure frequency. There have been many cases, especially of young children who have epilepsy and experience from 10 to 25 seizures a day. A, there have been, oh, a case that was commonly heard of was a 6-year-old little girl named Lila Rose from Pennsylvania. After trying all types of treatment that could possibly help their daughter, Lila's parents decided to go to Colorado after hearing about cannabis treatments that were successful in helping epilepsy seizures. Other diseases such as Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome that cause seizures also showed results of cannabis decreasing the amount of seizures people were having. Many people are able to benefit off this form of treatment even though it is a drug that isn't considered to be legal or, as they say, have any purpose in medicine. There are many different ways we can put this drug to use and even use it as something to profit our society. Other than medicine, another advantage the legalization of marijuana can do for the public is something people don't really think about, something that affects us every single day, the economy. Putting the fact that the legalization of marijuana would benefit the medical field aside, it would affect something bigger, the economy as a whole. With the amount of money the marijuana business has consumed, it is a no-brainer that it would be something that would only help our economies prosper. In his article, How Legalizing Pot Could Save America's Economy, S.E. Smith mentions that legalizing marijuana on a federal level would provide economic benefits for the United States in the billions, precisely at a time when the federal economy needs a major boost. With that being said, it could help the nation gain some money as well as save money on law enforcement trying to keep it off the streets and out of the hands of those who should have access. Having marijuana Having marijuana legal gives opportunity to improve the economy with the ability to tax on it, create more jobs, and regulate the amount of marijuana that's out there. It is able to create more jobs that involve growing, packing, and as well as distribution. According to an article in Washington Post, in 2014, Colorado retailers sold $386 million of medical marijuana and $313 million for clearly recreational use. The two segments of the market generated $63 million in tax revenue with an additional $13 million in collected licensing fees. This goes to show that with the legalization, it brings in money in ways that were not thought possible, helping the economy massively. Smith also indicates that it's not just the feds, however, who would benefit. Legalization would provide top-down economic improvements in local communities, state coffers, and more. In addition to bringing in funds, it would save regional and state governments substantial sums in currently wasted law enforcement dollars. It almost seems absurd that it has taken this long to even think that legalizing it would not be beneficial to society and the economy as a whole. Although the legalization of weed has had its many pros and cons as to whether or not it would be a respectable idea, in the long run, the profit and possibilities in the medical field that legalization would bring outweigh any negative effect it may have. It not only is beneficial for the economy, but it's beneficial in society in a way that it regulates the drug cartels and keeps the streets safer. The medical field as well as our economy are two important aspects of our culture that really influence the people tremendously, and what people do not understand is what also keeps us going. Thank you.